Hey everyone, it's Nikki. I decided to check out all the popular language apps in addition to some language apps with unique and interesting takes. And I'm really excited to share these apps with you guys because some of these apps I wish I had known about sooner. So I'm gonna do a quick review on each one and put each app into one of three tiers. Tier 1 is I would definitely recommend. Tier 2 is take it or leave it, and Tier 3 is not worth your time. Okay, to begin, I'm going to be starting with Duolingo. Duolingo is a very popular app, so I think it provides a great baseline for the other apps I'm going to be reviewing in this video. I think one of the reasons Duolingo is so popular is because they really gamified language learning, and this segues into the pros of the app. The achievements make it fun and motivating to go into the app every day. One of the most compelling achievements is the streak you can go on. So I'm personally at over an 1,000-day streak at this point, and it's just one of those things where once you develop the habit, you don't want to stop. The top achievement within the streak category is 365 days, but you'll get congratulated on smaller achievements along the way, so for 50 days, 100 days, etc. And once you reach that 365-day streak, you might be like me and want to just keep your streak going. With Duolingo, it also only takes a few minutes to complete a lesson, so there's not a huge commitment in going in the app. I think as far as grammar explanations go, it's okay. The quality of the explanations will probably depend on what language you're learning and what level you're at. When I first started using Duolingo with Korean, there weren't a lot of levels, but they keep adding to the app, so now there are plenty of lessons for Korean. The graphics and the sounds in Duolingo are also pretty solid, and there is a social aspect where you can add your friends and congratulate them on their achievements, follow them on their language learning journey. So I would say overall there's a lot of pros to this app. However, there are also cons to Duolingo. There's a limit to what kind of vocabulary you can learn within this app. So for example, if you're taking a class and you want to review that vocabulary, you're going to have to use a different app to do that, such as Anki. And the freestyle conversation component that they've now added is not on the level of other apps out there. Later in this video, I'm going to be talking about some great freestyle conversation apps. So overall, I would say this is a solid app. I would say it's very good. It gets me motivated to do a few minutes of language learning a day in it. And I think it's fun when you're trying out different languages also. I would put this in tier 1. I'm sure a lot of you have probably tried Duolingo too, so let me know in the comments below what you guys think of Duolingo. So the next app I want to talk about, I got super excited about when I saw advertised because I had always wanted to learn a language through movie clips, and this app advertised itself as doing just that. And the app is called Omi. So when I downloaded it over a year ago, I was interested in learning Japanese. I still am. So I was at the beginning of my Japanese learning journey, and they had many fun anime clips that you could learn from. There are many pros to this app. It's entertaining, and I think if you're a visual learner like myself, then this can be very helpful. There's also a large diversity of clips that they use, and there's also a tab that they have now where you can scroll through, like TikTok, these short form videos to learn the language. However, there are significant cons to this app, and after a year, I stopped my subscription because of these cons. So right off the bat, there's issues with the translation. I think they used AI to make this app because sometimes the translation is not matching up with what they're saying. And also, very glaring issue they have is that when you're trying to complete a lesson, sometimes it won't let you hit continue, and you have to actually exit out the app completely. So as it stands right now, it's not that great of an app because of these coding issues. I would put it in tier 3 as not worth your time. If the app developers work on this app and get rid of the errors that they have in it now, then it could be more of a tier 2 situation. Okay, the next app I'm going to be reviewing is great for beginner and intermediate learners. not so much for advanced. And this is Drops. Drops is great because you can learn quite a lot of vocabulary through this app, and the graphics and sounds are great. So if you want to try out a new language, I think this app is great for dipping your toes in. It's kind of funny because they actually have different apps for the different languages. So I wanted to try out Icelandic, so I downloaded the Icelandic Drops app. I found the experience really fun, and I got to learn some new words. It was easy to use, colorful, nice graphics. I would definitely go back to this app if I'm starting out a language and I just want to learn a few words and try it out. So there aren't too many cons for this app, but if you're an advanced learner, I don't think this is going to be a useful app because it's mostly for learning new words or phrases. And because it's limited to words and phrases, I will have to put this in tier 2 as take it or leave it because it'll really depend where you're at in your language journey. Okay, I'm going to quickly talk about another popular language app, which is LingoDeer. To start off with the pros of LingoDeer, I would say first they have great graphics and sounds. The app itself is easy to use and navigate through. The lessons are bite-sized and manageable. And I would say their grammar explanations are solid. Maybe even better than Duolingo. Let me know what you guys think. It might depend on the language that you're learning. However, there are cons to this app. So particularly for Korean, they do have a fluent Korean level, but I didn't actually find that level challenging at all. And they definitely offer more in terms of advanced Korean on Duolingo. You also can't access much without a subscription, which is a definite con. And I also found parts of the app a bit clunky. There were some coding issues too in this app, which I was actually quite surprised by. I think for me, this app is tier 2. However, despite the flaws, this app is worth checking out just to see what they offer for your target language. Okay, I'm really excited to share this next game with you guys. If you consider yourself a gamer or a cozy gamer, I think this might be up your alley. The app is called Lingo Legend, and it's described as a monster RPG game for language learning. And I found that it's particularly good for learning new vocabulary. I checked out beginner level Japanese and advanced Korean. I think for learning hiragana and katakana, this is not a great app. There are better, more effective ways than this app, but for learning new vocabulary, this is a really fun way to do it. For the advanced Korean, I didn't have high expectations because most apps aren't able to provide much for advanced levels of Korean. However, there were some words that were helpful for me to review. Still, I would say this app is more for beginner or intermediate at the moment. Because it's so fun and I think it will be a highly motivating app for many people, I'm going to put it into tier 1. Okay, now I'm going to be talking about my favorite app that I tried, which is LingoLooper. And I'm kind of going to start in the reverse here with the cons and then go into the pros because one of the cons is really big. The con being it uses AI technology. I personally don't like AI that much for a number of reasons. However, I don't think they could have created this app without AI. The other con to the app would be that you will have to pay for a subscription to use this app after a few conversations within the app. Okay, now that we've got the cons out of the way, I'm going to go into the pros. So because it uses AI technology, you're able to talk about literally anything. So you get a ton of conversational practice on whatever topic you want to talk about. For example, some of my interests are cooking and reading literature and watching films. I'm able to freely talk about these topics, and it rates my fluency and responds just similar to how a person would respond. You can click on words to learn the words, and you can actually save those words, and it shows you when you're using these words so you can master the words that you haven't learned yet or that you don't have practice with yet. That is super helpful, and you can actually access all of the words that you're working on and all of the words that you're getting to know through these conversations. So there are many different characters within this game with different personalities. It's sort of like The Sims in that way. and you can progress your relationships with these characters through talking to them. However, I will say they keep updating the app and you kind of lose these relationships. They kind of clear out like every now and then, and suddenly you don't have friends anymore. So it's really not about that. I don't know why that keeps happening in this app, but that is something to be aware of. However, the vocabulary doesn't clear out, and you can see when you're mastering certain words, and you can purposely work on certain words. You can also see your progress in terms of like how quickly you respond with a fluency score that they have there. I will say though, this does not replace the importance of talking to real life people. I think real life language practice with people who speak your target language is irreplaceable. Because this is AI, there are going to be issues with how they're using the language. For example, in Korean, they're using 당신, which is not something you use when you're talking to your friends, like as a replacement for you in English. Like 당신 is used differently in Korean. So you're going to come across some errors in how fluent the AI technology actually is. But it's a super fun app to use. I like the different locations that they have. They have the supermarket, they have a restaurant, they have an office, the gym. So I think this is very fun for conversation practice and having different locations. My suggestion to those who are creating this app would be to market toward the Hallyu scene. If they add a K-pop training academy location, and if they add a K-drama filming location, and you're able to talk to like the choreographer and the trainees at the training academy, or the actors and the director on the K-drama filming set, that would be very fun. And I think a lot of people would want to use the app for that reason, because K-pop and K-dramas is something that motivates a lot of people to learn Korean. So my overall thoughts is that this has become one of my favorite apps. I would definitely put it in tier 1. If you're intermediate or advanced, check it out. I think you can have a few conversations before you decide to subscribe or not. It's a great way to get conversational practice, particularly if you're more introverted and feel shy making mistakes around native speakers. But I do want to emphasize once again, this is not a replacement for talking to native speakers. So the next app I'm going to review is Falou. And this app I think really only has 2 pros. First, the grammar explanations I saw for beginner Japanese were solid. And second, that the lessons were quick and convenient. Going into the cons, there are major issues with this app. The first issue I noticed was that when you're doing a lesson, you can't navigate to the home page. And even when you are actually on the home page, when you click into the app where you've completed a lesson, it doesn't really offer you much. And if you're not paying for the app, which I don't know why you would pay for this app, then you get locked out after a few lessons and you have to wait for the timer to count down before you can go back in and do more lessons. Not only that, but when I was actually doing these lessons, which are mostly geared towards speaking, you can't hear back what you have said. And also, I purposefully left off words in a sentence and it would still mark them as correct. The most annoying part though was that when I was saying a sentence, sometimes the app would cut me off before I had finished and just mark it as correct. So yeah, there are major issues with this app. I don't think this app is worth downloading. I don't think it's worth even a few minutes of your time, because there are just so many better apps out there that do so much more and don't have the issues that this app has. I would put Falou into tier 3 as not worth your time. So those are the apps that I reviewed. I'm excited to hear what you guys think. If there's an app that you really liked, please let me know below. I hope this video was helpful. Let me know which ones you've tried before and if there are any I mentioned today that you didn't know about. And I'll see you guys next time. I've got some fear.